Ladies and gentlemen, good evening.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
We are today, as always, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you will be so kind and put in the comments that you can see us and hear us, that would be great.
We always have to check because you never know when some technology fails us, right?
I think the software is getting bigger, this StreamYard software, and it's getting a little bit, slower. So
yeah.
move
And
my...
today we have a juicy topic, so maybe people are hiding out. They don't want to. They don't want to put it in the chat.
There was enough, like 40 people sign in. There are always more than who sign in, but yeah.
Yeah, great.
So maybe we can start and.
I think so, because like I said, this is a fun, juicy topic because this is the stuff that nobody ever wants to talk about, right? Everyone in business and sports, you've learned how to have the perfect answer for everything. You've learned how to be smooth and confident and say, no, it's no problem and everything's good and I can handle this and we've got everything under control, and a good leader, make sure to lead with confidence and all the stuff around how to really show up strong. But the reality is, every single one of us who's performing, whether it's sports, whether it's business, whether you're on LinkedIn Live here,
Right.
we're performing, and it comes with anxiety. Humans are going to always have fear. So better that we talk about it and talk about what it is, what it looks like, what Jan and I know is really going on in people's minds, and then how do we address it? So if that sounds good to you, you're in the right place.
It says here that we are having trouble to stream to LinkedIn. I don't know why. Destination.
Oh dear.
Yeah. I should be now. Okay. I may check it on the Lisa. If you can start, I check it on my phone, the LinkedIn, and yeah, I know that you introduced the topic, but maybe you can start with your spiel, and I can.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to flip the script. No problem. So, actually, what most people believe, here's the first myth. Oh. Go ahead. We're cutting out, or? Not sure if it's my end or yours, but I seem to have a bit of an internet connection. Okay, so I wasn't sure if it was on my side or Jan's side, but it sounds like it's
Lisa, is it okay now?
It's getting better now. You were frozen, but I wasn't sure if it was me, so I didn't know if I should chat. And we've got some folks in the audience who are like, yeah, we could just have a little chat here, one-to-one, no problem. I'm super happy to keep going. I just wasn't sure if I was cut off.
No, I have 5. Yeah.
Okay.
All is fine.
You're all right. And how's LinkedIn doing? How are our friends over on LinkedIn? Able to join or not yet?
I don't know. I need to check it out, but...
Okay. Well, while you do tech support, I'll continue with my thoughts.
Okay.
So I don't remember where I was starting because I have a lot of notes and thoughts in my head, but maybe I'll go here. A lot of people have the fears, and what they do to cover the fears is a lot of different coping techniques. And what we learn in business, when you go, believe me, I coach for MBA programs. When you go to business school, when you go and learn, when you read Harvard Business Review, it says, here's how to be more resilient. Here's how to develop your mental strength. Here's how to lead with confidence. Here's how to sound strong when you go. There's very few articles or information about how the body actually naturally works, which is you're going to have fears. And instead of pushing them down, suppressing them, ignoring them, pretending you don't have them, actually the healthiest way to deal with them is to let them come up and face them. And this is a skill set, emotional agility, where you can have emotions, but your emotions don't run you. It's not that we all show up and now all of a sudden I'm yelling at Jan in meetings and I'm, throwing a fit and then I'm crying in the corner somewhere. It's not about acting out of emotionality that we talk about fears. We want to let our fears come up so we can look at them in the light of day. Most of the time when I'm coaching folks, just like you who are in the audience, when I'm looking at people and I say, come, look at your fear, name it out loud, really, the thing you're most scared of or the most ashamed of or the worst possible scenario. Let's look at it out in broad daylight. We're in it together. Is it really that bad? And for most people, when you actually get the courage to stop running from your fears, but you get the courage to face it, the fear actually loses so much of its significance and power that you can move forward, not because you've pushed it down and bottled it down, but because you've been brave enough to face it and you've let it go. That's where true confidence and the opposite of fear comes from. It's not from I'm courageous, I'm strong, I'm going to overpower over it. It's from learning how to deal with the fears, be comfortable with the fears, allow them without letting them overtake you. So that's the skill set that I would say today is the most important one to think about and to learn through. But we'll give more examples of it throughout today. Jan, checking in. Good on tech? Do we have?
Yeah, I don't know. It says that we will start soon, but I don't understand because it's, the time is right. So I do not understand what is happening on LinkedIn, so.
Okay. Well, we'll let them know they can always watch the repeat on YouTube, right? The video is always out there, so it won't be lost forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if you want to keep doing tech support, then I'm happy to keep talking. I have no problem.
Give me like 3 minutes and I will try to edit, the time. But I don't know. The time is right here. It says your 8 p.m. your local time, so I don't understand why it's not starting.
I don't know. Any LinkedIn experts, LinkedIn Live experts, StreamYard experts who are out there who have any ideas, we're more than welcome to hear them in the comments box there. But I will continue, and you can focus on that, and you just wave a hand whenever you're ready. Sure. I think it's really important to talk about the different kinds of fears that people have, because oftentimes when I talk to high performers, people who are really leading, doing well, if I say to you, hey, you have secret fears, they're like, yeah, I'm afraid of the normal stuff. I'm afraid that the stock is going to fall. But there's much deeper fears. And the thing is, most people don't even recognize what their fears are or that they're reacting to fears. You've gotten so used to it that you don't even realize that's not normal or that's not you. That's just your fear response. So I give you a short example, right? There's two young fish swimming in the water, and an elder fish swims by and he says, hey boys, how's the water today? And they go, oh yeah, good. And then after he swims away, they look at each other and they go, what's water? Because they're so used to being in this environment, they don't even recognize that they're swimming in, or they don't even recognize what's around them. And so many of the behaviors that we have in today's modern world are actually fear-based behaviors. And that is what's going to hold high performers back, because that's what causes burnout, or anxiety, depression, all of these health problems that we have today, all of this overwhelmed feeling, lack of interest in family time and friends, you're too tired, you're too overwhelmed, you're too exhausted, you're too nervous. All of this is not what's going to keep you high performing for your entire career. So we need to get to what those fears are and what are the things we're doing to hide the fears, even from ourselves. As we're not necessarily lying to other people. We don't even know and recognize them for ourselves. And we think of them as good. So I give you an example from Jeff Bezos. Early on at Amazon, right? He was all about quality. He wanted to make sure we're launching a business. It has to be perfect. He was checking everything. How's this? How's the shipping? He was involved in every detail. And you think, or maybe you have read, like, hey, great. He really made sure excellence and quality. He set a good culture. And that was fine. But if he wouldn't have let that go, he would never have been able to scale Amazon the way he did. So notice, okay, it was good, it was helpful to start. Once it becomes a problem is when he holds on to too much control, too much fear, too much micromanagement, too much in the way of being able to move fast, to break things, to make mistakes. And most people, their number one fear is making a mistake, making a bad decision. Jeff Bezos often talks about, I've lost billions. You heard that right, billions. He's lost billions in Amazon. And yet he says, that's the cost of doing business. I don't like it. It doesn't feel good, but I fully accept it and I move forward with it because that's what it means to scale and move fast and to be an innovator. So he's found ways to take the fear, face it, again, not pretend, oh, failing is great. He doesn't pretend. He faces the fear and then he moves forward with choice. Where do I want to be? How do I want to go?
Okay, so here is the update.
Yeah.
There is an issue with LinkedIn, some known issue, and I put on LinkedIn, then people can move to YouTube to see us, live. So hopefully that's okay, So I'm
Great.
sorry. So
No, that's perfect.
and I think it will be because you talk about a lot of very relevant things, but I will talk a little bit about the history of fear and where it's feel like in our subconsciousness that sometimes we are even not aware of that, right? In the history, fear and obviously in general stress was caused by the real danger. There were dangerous situations caused by some animals or some other people and stuff like that. So the fear, there was a clear reason for a fear. And because there was a much less, input for our brain, so our predecessors, they were like hunting, so they were quite fearful or stressful events, and then they have a rest, and again and again. So the stress and the fear was kind of acute, and in fact, there is a mechanism how to cope with the fear and all negative experience, and that's our dreams. There is a theory in psychology that when we are dreaming, we are like washing out, the negative experience, right? The thing is, when they were hunting, they've got some really very negative experience. They were like fighting for their lives, and there is a theory that the dreams were like fleshing out all of that back experience. Interesting enough, when we have that REM phase, rapid eye movement, when we are like blinking our eyes, when we are having the dreams, right? At that time, our body cannot move, basically, and we are not fearful during the dream. We are fearful after the dream, right? For sure, if you have some dream, you are not, and you are like losing your life or whatever in the dream, you are not afraid during the dream. But once you are like waking up,
Once I wake up, yeah, exactly.
Then you are fearful, right? So that's kind of, so there is a history of fear and stress in general. Those are, natural mechanism for survival. Okay. Now let's move for, couple of 1,000 years. And here there's a lot of, what I call digital fear or exponential fear, right? When the fear is created by external environment, now mainly social, networks and stuff like that. And because, that stimuli is a lot, and our brains, and we can agree on that, are more or less the same as the brains of the people, other humans in the 15th century. And while, scientists, they know a lot about our brains, how we, behave, what is negative bias, what is confirmation bias and stuff like that. Normal, ordinary people, they don't know. I mean, and leaders, even like if you would ask some top leaders, what is negative bias? I would say that probably 70% of those leaders would not know what is it.
Yeah.
Right. So, and unless you really understand how your brain works, it's hard to handle the fear, because the issue is that if you don't understand how your brain works, then you believe all your thoughts. And your thoughts, if everything goes well, your thoughts are supporting you, right? That's when, neocortex is in play. But once, amygdala is in the play, that's the survival mechanism and fearful mechanism. Very often, those are like just thoughts. It's not the facts. But, unless you really employ the neocortex, you cannot, figure out whether it's true or not. And that's where, and because there's a negative bias, which means that we are 10 times faster with negativity as opposed with the positivity, right? Our, brain works like that. So we remember the last negative experience, whatever, or last negative, thought, right? So that's kind of the evolution, right? That's and everybody got it. So now let's talk about the kids, because when we were kids, we were having, very limited fear and very limited stress. That's the way we, learn, right? let's put it in different way. When you are born, you have like 110 billion brain cells. Adults, we have like between 86 to 100 billion, right? And what is happening when you are, born? There's a lot of experience. You are exposed to a lot of experience. So synapses are created. Those are like fluid connections between the, neurons. Okay. And the curve is, following. It goes like up to the 3-4 years. So a lot of synapses are created, and then it goes down, right? Brain is still neuroplastic even when you are dying. It's still new synapses are created, but not that many. So there is a youth neuroplasticity up to the 25, years, and this is where we are getting a lot of knowledge and so on, and then it's rather experience. Even though now you can say, well, there is AI, so lifelong learning will be important. We will still need to get new knowledge, and I would agree with you. And then there is something after, let's say 25. There is something called adult neuroplasticity, which is that process is getting slower, but still it's possible to basically rewire your brain. Why I'm saying that? This is very important, because sometimes we have a genes. Okay, 95% of those genes are under what we call 5% of those genes are expressed whatever is happening, and 95% are under what we call epigenetics. Epi means from Latin above, which means that it really depends what is happening around us, what is the environment, how we think, what is our perception of the events and stuff like that. Okay. And chances are, when we were like fearful as a kids, and our parents were like, you should not do that, you should not do that, it can happen to you, right? So we were like in the box, if you will, right? It's not necessarily, right, but you can still rewire your brain, because yes, brain is, neuroplastic, right? And very often, when we are kids, we really learn from where this fear is coming from. When people were hunting and somebody was, making some mistake, and the chief of the group would say, you are no more, hunting with us, that person was sentenced to death, basically, right? Because there was no food for him. Okay, so we are, and that's evolution. We are afraid if we are like losing one game in tennis, that maybe we will lose our life, which is absolutely, crazy. But this is it. That's how your brain on subconscious level is working, easy as it is. But if we are kids, we are learning from our mistakes, because kids are agnostic to mistakes. Because basically our brain, the best way to learn is basically to do some progress, and then if you go out of your comfort zone, it's painful, and you are making some mistakes, right? So, but then you need to frame mistake and reframe how you will do it in the future. What you should do, differently. That's why kids learn so fast. Okay, the kids learn really, really fast. They can learn how to walk, how to speak, whatever. Once we start to compare them, and again, there is a negative bias playing very important role, and a lot of coaches, teachers, and parents, they don't have a clue what is it. Then they compare the kids like, hey, Joe is better in this and is better in that. Comparison is okay, provided that it's a fair comparison, right? If you will start like, hey, you are good in those 5, and you can learn from Joe and those 2, and that's good, right? Otherwise, you're creating a really fixed mindset, which has to do a lot with those fixed mindset. Those people, some journalists asked me last week, can somebody with fixed mindset win Olympic Games? I said, yes, probably once, okay? And it's just by chance, because the things are not going well. The fixed mindset is giving up, basically. People with the fixed mindset. Because fixed mindset is perfectionism. Everything or nothing, right? All or nothing, right? And that's not necessarily good. But unfortunately, that's the way we educate kids, and we are bringing up the kids because of that. And then the kids are really lowering their self-confidence. And then the second, point is, then they start to compare themselves with the other kids, which we call influencers now,
Yes.
on social networks. And very often those influencers are showing, not real world, right? I'm not like, look, there is a lot of good stuff coming from influencers, like, they are, sporting or teaching other kids, whatever, right? But, there is a lot of, stuff which I think we should, avoid. But anyway, so that's kind of, intro from my side. So this is not easy topic, and everybody is fearful, but there are people who are doing things in spite of the fear. Okay. Because I don't know, very often, I don't know how I will do that. But I know if I will work hard enough and I'll be consistent, then I will, figure out how to do things. And that was the same when I started to work 10 years ago with athletes. A lot of people were saying, you have absolutely no clue what are, those top athletes all about. Now I've got a couple of, medals from Olympic Games, and some good, successes, right? But you need to learn from the best people, I mean, in the world. And you can now, because of the internet, you can do that. I put on Instagram, I put a post. We should learn from the best people because it's a great content. And plus, we have those, mirror neurons. We will figure out, hey, they are good people, but they are not gods, right? You know what I mean, right? They are just people like me. I can learn also. And somebody put a message like, but those all, how can I get to those, smart people and the best people? They are not, I can't, approach them. I said, I think it's like $10 or €10 a month. It's called internet, and then you can have everything. You can have it on your fingertips these days, right? Those people.
Yeah.
So and it's good because I think those people will create a new curiosity. Curiosity is a great tool against fear and stress, because if you are curious, you can handle much better your own mistakes, and that's why you are less fearful.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw, I'm like frantically taking notes. I'm like, I want to add this. I want to add this. Everything, yes, 1,000 times yes to what you said. It's so important. Maybe I start with the difference between perfection and excellence, right?
Yeah.
Because what we're really reinforcing is perfect means fear. I'm playing from a place where I don't want to lose. I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to look bad. I don't want it to be wrong. I don't want to be embarrassed. I'm avoiding shame. And that's not how we want to live life. But it's so easy to live your whole life avoiding shame, because in childhood, guess what? I can tell you, for anyone who's on this call here today, if I were to sit with you and ask you in 5 minutes, what are the things your parents praised you for? And what are the things the parents said no, bad, or punished you for? And that would be the starting point for the things you feel ashamed of and for the things you feel you must do in order to gain love. And it starts at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, nothing that you're consciously forming, but you already created your story. Here's what gets me love. Here's what gets me kicked out of the group and starving to death, right? And this then becomes, it needs to be perfect. And most of the time people are fear-based about it. For high performers, when I ask this question, 99% of them, Jan has a similar story. The parents said, how are your grades? And every night at the dinner table, they said, how's school? And it wasn't good enough in French class, and you need to pick this up. And so we learned early on, achievement is important. Not achieving is not okay. And then, you played a sport and your parents said, great, you did sports, or you played a musical instrument. Great, you did. And you got your praise for achieving more and more. And this is what puts panic in people. So while we thought as parents, as adults, we're praising the good things, actually what we've put in is a built-in fear. If we don't do that, we are not lovable, good enough, admirable enough, smart enough, clever enough. And we come from a place of shame and fear. That is perfection. Where we want to get to, that's fixed mindset. Where we want to get to is that place of curiosity, that place of excitement, that place of I'm not protecting, but I'm running towards a bigger goal. So we talk about what are your values? What difference do you want to make in the world? What are you excited to talk about? How do you move yourself going forward and not, I can't make a mistake, because that's where that growth mindset comes from. It is almost impossible to have true curiosity and excitement when you have a feeling of shame.
Yeah.
And I give a small example. I love fashion. I'm very bad at it. But obviously, for a personal brand and running your own business, this is important. So I sometimes feel, we'll come back to that in a second. I sometimes feel, let's say, shame. I mean, this is obviously a small example of like the clothing that I wear. But because I have a little bit of a story of I'm a woman and I'm from New York and I should be good at this, and I'm not naturally good at this, my curiosity goes away. I don't go, oh, let me learn. Oh, let me watch this master class that exists. Oh, let me see how to style. Let me take a course. Let me ask a professional stylist. I'm too scared to take it on because I have a feeling of shame built in me around it. And again, I use this as a very small example. It's not life or death, right? I can always put it aside. I dress fine enough. Nobody else matters. Not a big deal. I can do all the stuff to hide the shame or get it away, but I cannot be curious and learn and get better from the shame. We've got to remove the shame and use the curiosity instead. We had a comment in the comments from earlier, if you wanted to bring that up again, Jan.
Yeah, I read a couple of days ago that the Czech has the highest increase of antidepressants consumption in the world. Finally, we are the best again. I don't know about antidepressants, but what I know from the National Institute of Mental Health, that they ran some study 2 years ago among 15 years old, and 40% of those students were depressed or severely depressed. 35% with anxieties, right? So those are very high numbers, I was recently in the international school, like 150 kids, and they were like, I think average age was probably 12, so between 10 to 14. And I would say 80% of the questions were around fear, stress, and stuff like, really. I mean, I was absolutely shocked. I mean, obviously, it's international school, so they are high achievers. Parents are high achievers, right? So
yes.
that's for sure. But still, I was really surprised, right?
Yes.
One point I put there from like leadership standpoint of view, that very often, we are like, we build something, we build some organization, and then there is some, opportunity to move on. And very often we are fearful that we are, losing something, and we are, right, that we will say no to the new opportunity. And I think it is much better to feel like pain from mistakes and from being, out of the comfort zone, as opposed to the pain when you are like 80 years old and you have a regret that you were not, making right decisions, right? So in my life, whenever, there was some opportunity and I felt like, hey, this is an opportunity, I went for it. And I can tell you, I was not 100% sure how I will do it, but I know I will figure out simply, this is it. You need to, believe. And if not, then, you will do something else, right? That's for sure. So there is this phenomena, there's always tomorrow, right? Give me 1 sec. I will, read some quote from Winston Churchill. It is a great quote. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is a courage to continue that counts.
Yes.
And that's one more time. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is a courage to continue that counts. And I think that's absolutely, true. So he got a lot of, good quotes, but this one, I think it's a relevant to the team. Because there is always, whatever you do, there is always tomorrow. There's always some, hope. And when there is a hope, there is an action, right? And the things are that now, especially, like, I understand that, our brain doesn't like change, because our brain likes, status quo, because we want to have, like, survival is a main goal for our brain. That's for sure, right? On the other hand, so you have a brain and you have technology, but the technology is changing so much that you need also to change. Otherwise, you will just, watch what happened to you. And I'm not like, look, I'm not threatening anybody. I think that coaching will change because of the AI and stuff like that. So I'm working on my avatar, how it can be, and I'm using heavily AI. So I don't take it, and I could be like my, like fellow students or people like on my age, like 63, 65 years old. All those people say, well, I don't need to learn it anymore. It's for the young people, whatever. It's for everybody, right?
Exactly. It's for
It's for
everybody.
everybody, absolutely. So it is. And once you will, and again, it is, we talk a lot about curiosity, because when you were kids, you were absolutely curious and you were like attacking comfort zone all the time, all the time, all the time. That's the way you learn. And then suddenly, because of that, education and stuff like that, we were like, hey, it's enough. Like 60% of the kids who are in the first year in the freshman class in the freshman year at Harvard, 60% think they don't belong there. It's called imposter syndrome. And
exactly.
it's like, so now tell me, what the kids are doing, why they don't have a fear, because they are mindful. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is like concentrate what I do, be in the present moment, and don't judge me, what is happening. Don't judge activity. Okay, I learn, I do some stuff good, I do some stuff, I learn from my mistakes, and I move on. So the way how you can get back to your childhood and be more curious is really don't, judge yourself. I mean, there is some, and fun, make it fun, right? There's a lot of things you can learn, a lot of new activities through the fun, because I think people are like, too serious. Hey, I need to do that, right? It's like I walk like, look, I was one of the top executives in the top. I now go to Seattle. We will celebrate like 50th anniversary, like the, top leaders. Anyway, so I was one of the top leaders, flying like business, first class, whatever, right now. I walk in Prague with the rucksack, with the backpack, because it's a healthy, and I can carry my PC or whatever. I walk a lot because it is, well, it is faster in Prague than by car, for sure, And I go like by subway, and then I park my car at the subway, then I go by subway to the center, and then I walk there, right? And this is it. And I don't care what the people are saying. Well, I can have like 5, drivers and 5 cars, but they would stay at that, bridge anyway for 1 hour every morning. So
Yes.
I don't need, you know what I mean? I don't need to do it simply. So that's kind of what I try to say. It is also about our ego, your ego. It's because people think ego is like one big whatever. No, ego is basically the substance of our fears, and
Yes.
the base of our fears, in the center of our fear, is the fear of life, fear of losing life, right? This is it. That's the ego. Ego is never the reason why the kids are not afraid, because they are always in the present moment. 70% of the time, their brain is on alpha frequency up to 7 years old. That's why all of those, synapses are created, right? And because they are in the present moment, there is no fear. Fear is from something what happened to you in the past or may happen to you in the future. But if you are here and now, there's no fear. It's not, the territory for amygdala, basically.
Exactly. And by the way, for any of you who are wondering, I'm in a fear moment. I hear you, Jan. It sounds great, but I'm in a fear moment when the boss is yelling or I've somehow made this horrible mistake. What do I do? And there's a lot of presencing techniques that you can do, which exactly is what Jan said.
What you should do? What you should do? You should, if your boss is yelling, you should imagine your boss, sitting on the toilet. Everybody's sitting on the toilet. But come on, right? And you will start
Is that
to
a power?
absolutely, absolutely. We are on at the toilet. We are all equal, right? So come on,
Yes, they're
that
sitting in
works.
their
That
underwear.
works.
They're
Really,
fighting
I
with
can
their.
tell you on my own experience, it works very well, right?
Yes,
So
and I also tell people when I'm trying to help them to be more empathetic or to understand someone who's difficult or someone who's really nasty, I say, think about the last time that person cried. Did someone die? Did they have a fight? Are they getting a divorce? Like, what happened that that person cried? And really think through and imagine. And of course, you don't know the answer, but just the thought of them being a human who can be sad, who can be brought down, who can be, that makes you remember, oh, we're just humans. We're all just humans. We're all just trying to figure this stuff out.
absolutely, absolutely. And there are a couple of fears which are quite obvious. FOPO, we know what is it? Fear of other people opinion. We talk about it, what the other people will say. Then very often we have fear of missing out. That's the reason why kids are spending so much time on those devices. My AI is listening to me.
Well, I hope it's listening and seeing this comment. Oh,
it's like missing out, right? Some events or whatever, and we should concentrate on. I mean, I have nothing against social networks because I learned so much, tons of the things from it. I can communicate, put my own content there, whatever. But I'm not that, I don't do that many clicks or that many scrolls or whatever, right? This is it. Okay.
This is when depression gets sent up.
Absolutely. That comparison. And then there is another one, and that's very often with the leaders, it's called FOBO, fear of better option. That you still think there is a better option. There is a better gentleman or lady I can have for this slot. And I can tell you on my own experience, I was always looking for the people who made some, screwed ups, like fuck ups, right? And what they learn, because those people are able to, they are curious because they were attacking their comfort zone, right? And if they explain me what they learned, that's exactly what you need, right? That's number one. And people with the energy, that's number two. And other than that, they can learn. And now it's so, all organizations are, so dynamic, or will become so dynamic, they
are
didn't,
and will be.
Yeah. They didn't realize it. So it is I think the major competitive advantage for the small team, as much as for Microsoft, Google, or some large organization, is the ability of your people to learn fast. This is it. And people will learn fast if they will use during that learning process their talents, because that's the way the myelins are created. Those are the special, connections, special wrap-ups around, the synapses. When you are really building like what I would call superstars in your team, right, with people who are really skilled. That's number one, the talents. And number two, it's curiosity, really, that allow people to make mistakes, because that's the way you learn. A lot of organizations are saying we want to be learning organization. On the other hand, they are not allowing mistakes. So the best way, look, I have a client, she's great. She's a lawyer. Now she got, some people, so there is some team. So I coach her, okay? And she asked me, she's very open for doing new things. And she asked me, what should I do? Because the people in the territory where I am, they are not that much, open, like for admitting their own mistakes, whatever. I said, you know what? Do the fuck up Monday, like whenever you have all hands, right, meeting, start with your own mistakes you did last week. Even small mistakes, doesn't matter. Because when the people see that the leader is open and leader speaks, he or she speaks about that, then they will open. And that's the way you learn. Because success, very, very often we hear success is leaving clues. That's for sure. But, failure is also leaving the clues, and we should study failure as much as the success,
They build together to get you to where you want to go. You can't only have success, because then you don't know how to cope with failure, and failure is inevitable. You've got some great comments in the chat here, Jan.
Okay.
You're an instant celebrity. Let's put it that
Jan
way.
changed my mom fixed mindset for, oh my God, you listen to every donor. Oh my God, Jan was on the TV this morning. He looks as Oh, I
I
look
love
better in
that.
reality than in the TV, I can tell you, I think. Anyway, so there's another one. It's great to prefer. We'll walk to the barber and we'll never forget that moment. I will, yeah, because we met, once by chance in Prague. Absolutely, guys. There is a one point because we mentioned walking a lot, and I'm, getting older, so I still run, but I would say like once, twice a week. Other than that, I do really fast Nordic walking where you employ the
Perfect.
whole, body. It's perfect. And you know what? There are a lot of studies actually that walking is really important for longevity, for
Yes.
your mood, your brain development, and stuff like that. So it's really, I mean, I would like to run, more, but you have a knees and the hips, and I think it's
Exactly.
it's enough. I was running the whole life, but I can get enough. I'm, really getting enough. Like I'm enough tired after 1.5, hour. I go with my friend, with Rene, and we talk, obviously, and it's really good. So I can, encourage. You don't need to do the Nordic walking. I just do it to employ the whole, body, right? But even walking, it's really good. And if you and I started to have some 101s on like walking. If the people are happy to walk, I mean, you can talk and you
I
can
do too.
put it on the phone, whatever, if you need some notes from that meeting. So walking, I can definitely. We may do some live on walking.
We should do it. Anytime it's not a paying client. So if it's an advisory board
Right.
meeting or a coffee chat, I'm out walking, rain or shine. You can ask people like but I think this is a really important example of silent fears that people have. A lot of high performers go, well, if I'm not going to be the best, then I'm not going to. If I'm not going to run at a certain pace per kilometer, then I'm not going to run at all because I don't have the time or the energy to
Absolutely.
make it good.
Yeah.
It has to be perfect. It has to be right. I have to be the
No.
best. I need to see improvement. If I'm not seeing improvement, then I quit because all of this is silent fears of, am I good enough? And notice it literally stops you from being healthy, right? Like, oh, I can't just walk. I have to run. All this
Look,
stuff is ego.
what I realized that people with fixed mindset, because they wanted to show others I'm better than the others, so they compare with the average. Usually, they compare themselves with the average, for the ego, right? And people with a growth mindset, they learn from the best. So I really, in my life, I really never compare me with the average. I rather look for the best and I try to learn from the best. And this is it. And you don't need to. It's even like cooling down your ego and your fears, right? Because if you still see, there is a saying that if you are smartest person in the room, probably you are in the wrong room. And I can sign it. I think it's a very much true.
I'm there, and the thing that I teach people the most, this is kind of a relatively new concept, is what I teach people is self-forgiveness or self-compassion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because this is the thing, right? You're going to get frustrated, annoyed, angry. You're going to be hopefully you're in a room where you are not the smartest person in the room and things are going over your head and you're going, oh my God, why am I here? I don't know. I didn't understand. This is confusing. This is complex. AI, what? I'm over. I don't know where I'm going to go. And rather than letting that put you down, I'm not smart enough. I'm not fast enough. I'm not this, like all the negative stuff that could
Right.
go. I really love the idea of forgive yourself. Are you going to be perfect at everything? No. Is that your goal to be perfect at everything? No, right? So sometimes I can sit in a business strategy meeting and I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about. And then I check in with myself before I can let fear and negativity come in. And I say, wait, hold on. But the part that you're contributing, do you know how to do it? Yes. Great. That's the part that matters. And then anything else on top is, bonus. But don't put yourself down. Don't be belittling yourself in those moments. Really understand and have a practice of forgiveness. One more thing I just want to add. I was recently coaching someone who was saying, oh, he was really, stressed and he was binge eating from the anxiety. I find more and more of my clients are doing this. They have so much stress and anxiety and they don't quite know where to go. And then they're binge eating and then they're upset about it. And then they want to diet and then they fast for 24 hours. And then next time that they get upset, they're binge eating because we don't know how to deal with sort of the anxiety there. And I said, look, binge eating, as long as you can give a self-acceptance afterwards, that was the soothing I needed in that moment. That was me protecting myself. That was me taking care of myself. And I love myself enough and protect myself enough to want to find a different solution, and not shaming that it happened, and not saying it was bad, and not going down a spiral of you're the worst and you do this and you don't know how to, and just saying, I accept it. That was what I needed in that moment, and it's done. And now I can choose something different. And that self-compassion, that forgiveness, like you would treat a best friend. You would never, your best friend calls and says, oh, I messed up the presentation. You'd be like, are you stupid? Right? Or you're the worst. I don't want to be your friend anymore. They should fire you. No friend would say, or if you have a friend who would say that, you know, maybe don't be friends with them. But that's the kind of things we say to ourselves. Why do we allow that to be the kind of thing you say to yourself? So really speak to yourself from that compassionate understanding. Oh, you lost your cool. You didn't know how to answer that question in there. That's really tough. You had a hard day. You know, it's going to be better next time. And then you can switch into, so what can I do for next time? Not you're stupid and you can't ever get this wrong and you can never have a problem again and you better work hard to fix. We're not fixing from the fear place. We accept, we love ourselves, and then we fix from the curiosity place. What can I do better? I'm excited to learn more.
You can, that's selfie. No, just kidding. No, there's a huge difference between, if I will say, you know, I lost again, you know, right? I lost again. That's kind of the bad. Yeah. Or it's a fixed mindset. Or if you will say, you know, I didn't win yet, you know, that's something different. Not yet is really something. Even in the US, at some universities, they drop, you know, F like a fail, and they replace it by not yet, which is like, okay, there was some progress, but you are not yet on that, you know, level, right? And I think that's the level. That's exactly, you know, the growth mindset. It's like step by step, every day, I'm better version of me. What Nelson Mandela was saying, I never lose, I win or I learn, you know, there's nothing to lose. And that's, I believe that's a great way how to, you know, approach it. Right?
Yeah. And really important, I think, that people don't talk about is, so many of us set a milestone, like, well, when I get this job title, then I'll be confident and I'll know what I'm doing, or when I get this university degree, or when I get we were talking earlier about relationships in the comments, when I get the right partner, when I get when I lose the weight, when I win the championship, when like some future state is going to make you happy.
Yeah.
And it's really important to me that I say, this present moment is what matters. You have to learn how to be content or happy or curious or excited here, not waiting on the future state. Because I can tell you from experience, we coach a lot of people who hit their midlife crisis and they go, but I did all the things and I arrived at all the places I thought that was going to make me feel grounded and like I was smart enough and good enough, and I got the pay and I got the title and I got the house and I got the, you know, second home and I got the yacht and and I still feel like a fraud. And I said, that's because you don't need these external things to validate who you are. You need to do it on the inside. You will never arrive magically at a place where you feel more confident if you're not working on, I'm going to build my confidence no matter where I'm at, no matter what I'm doing. And this is so important for you to know, for anyone who's listening. We all go through it. So many people tell me, oh, I thought it was just me. Everyone else looks like they've got it together. And that's why, like, you know, I have certainly understood and lost a lot of my imposter syndrome just by coaching some of the world's greatest, brilliant minds. Because I'm like, oh, if you're nervous that you didn't, like, oh, you won a Nobel Prize and you're still a little bit nervous about whether you're good enough. Okay, that's a human thing. That's not a Lisa thing. That's not a Jan thing, right? No matter who you are, you're going to be scared it wasn't enough. You weren't smart enough. You weren't clever enough. You weren't fast enough. You didn't do it big enough. And that's just a human voice. That's the fear. And you don't have to listen to it. Have some compassion and move over to your curiosity.
No, absolutely. And one recommendation, you know, always you can, you know, check it, you know, against your two basic needs. When you were born, it's like for everybody. There are two basic needs. Number one, we want to be authentic. We want to be original. And if you were kids, you were absolutely original. You know, you were learning through your talents and so on. You want, it's from the nature. you want your genes to be freely expressed. That's the number one. And number two is like our emotional connection with the other people, and it needs to be in the balance, because if you are selling your authenticity for the love of the other people, it's not gonna to work. Whether it's a romantic relationship or working relationship, it's not gonna to work, because the happiest people are those who can make happy other people through activity they love. And again, it doesn't matter whether it's work or it's marriage or whatever. It is like that, because very often, unfortunately, because our self-confidence, when we are getting older, let's say 15, 18, 20, self-confidence goes down, and then we are much more open for the other people opinion, which is okay, but other people wrong opinion, because there is nobody else who knows you better than you. Okay? There's nobody. I mean, I can help people to understand who they are, to figure out who they can be, but they need to unlock their potential on their own. I can help them to figure out what are their talents, how they can use it in the specific job. But then they need to get some, practice, because consistency is skilling talent, basically, because the whatever skill you have, it's talent. Talent is some constant. Those are the genes, okay? Sometimes you have talent more, sometimes less. Multiply by your efforts, and it's about consistency, right? I think there are more, like my talent is strategy. There are probably more people with higher, talent for the strategy. But because I was in a good environment and Microsoft with the other top leaders, I learned so much, and now it's the same. So and I'm like open for making new mistakes, because I think this is it, right? And then the other thing, interestingly enough, today I watched somebody on Instagram, and the guy got like almost 1 million, followers, whatever. And he said, the problem, with the imposter syndrome is that everybody on Instagram wants to look perfect and everything perfect. And it's more about the content as opposed, because it's so fast. Who cares, whether you have nicer T-shirt or not? I mean, nobody really. It is a fast. So it's about content, right? And then the last point I wanted to make, I think it's also the wisdom. A lot of people think that wisdom comes with the age. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people who are older than me, and I think they were not touched by wisdom at all. So for me, wisdom is basically your skills and experience and everything, multiply by your ability to learn from what you were. Because you can have a great coach or great player, for example, football, ice hockey player, but it's not great coach because he or she is not able to use that learning from the experience to learn for the new job, right? So and today, and there is a lot of people who think like, because I've got this job, I've got new job, and it has nothing to do with my old job. Come on, the jobs are about, people mainly, right? About emotional intelligence. And it's the same in sport, in medicine, whatever, in business, just name it, right?
Exactly. What I want to make sure that I share in these last few minutes is my current biggest fear. So we talked about these silent fears that hold high performers back, and we've touched on a lot of the stuff that maybe is, familiar territory for some folks. I have a very weird fear. So actually, if you read my LinkedIn profile, I say my fear is that people don't reach their full potential. And that's also true. That's why I actually became a coach, is because I didn't want people to be 80 and go, oh, I regret the life I lived. I'm like, but I could catch you at 30 and we could make it so that you had lived exactly the life you wanted. But so that's how I chose my profession, and that's sort of how I show up to life. But I have a different fear, which is my number one value is freedom. I really want to have a lot of freedom. I've built my company to have freedom. I've built our lifestyle to have freedom. That's why, we traveled for a few months at a time. I built financial freedom. I don't have a yacht. I'm not a billionaire, but we have enough money because of the way that we've planned it in order to have freedom and flexibility. And I really focus on building this, but I maybe 3, 4, 5 months ago had a definition of freedom that I'd never heard before, which is freedom is when you can really and truly let go of all of the expectations from family and culture. And when I heard that, I went, I'm not free at all. Because even though I think I'm authentic and I'm my real self, the reality is culture plays a role. I act differently in Switzerland than I do in America, right? I'm much more uptight. And also, right, like something I've recently been speaking about, I'm like, I'm almost 42 years old. I kind of want a tattoo. But is that weird at 42? Like 18, you can get a tattoo, but is it weird for 42? And I said, the reason I never got one is because I just felt, I don't know, how's it going to look when I get older? Is it permanent? Do I want it? Like I had so many fears about whatever that it stopped me from being able to express myself. And it was fears of fitting in, in Japan, you can't get into the onsen with it. And just these kinds of things where I really allowed other people's beliefs or other judgments to stop me from saying, but what would be authentic and right for me? And so the silent fear that I hold is actually that I'm not free and that none of us are free. But once we can really break free, that's when that authenticity and that fullest, greatest potential can be awakened. So I'm on that journey. If anyone else wants to come on that journey with me, you are welcome to. You can, go on LinkedIn or email me or whatever, and we can share resources together. But this is the fear that I'm holding in at the moment is I'm, without even being aware, I'm still letting opinions and judgments hold me back from being my authentic
Lisa, my coaching feedback, because I think I was the same like 15 years ago, even like I was older than you. And once I left, Microsoft, I basically said, I wanted to work with people who want to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm not like dependent on they will. It's almost like unconditional love, if you will. I mean,
yes, what I mean? Yes.
In a different sense. No, I mean, okay, I will work with you, whatever. If you are winning Wimbledon, I will work with you. If not, I will still work with you, right? That's what I'm, telling them. I expect the same because it's based on the trust, and I think freedom is very individual because for me, I feel like when I'm on the stage and I'm like in the flow and there's like 2,000 people, I feel absolutely free. Absolutely. And a lot of people are like locked there, fearful. I love it, right? So, and then there is one thing which we may spend some time in the future in this life, and that's the freedom of choice. Okay. Freedom of choice, interestingly enough, which was defined by Viktor Frankl, that you cannot influence what is happening to you, but you can influence your reaction to what is happening to you. That's the freedom of the choice. But now there's discussion about the fact that because our brain is pre-programmed by the parents, by our environment, so are we really having freedom of choice because our brain is shaped up, right? That's why I think parents and teachers are playing so important role. And if you think about it, to be parent is very, important societal job, very important, very difficult job. Okay. And nobody is preparing us for that. There's no like new hire act or whatever, You know what I mean?
No onboarding for you.
To be parent, right? There's nothing like that.
Yeah. And as a parent or even as a teacher, you have to do the physical stuff. You have to do the emotional stuff. You have to do the mental stuff. I always say as a parent, maybe this is a good topic for next time. Yeah. You have to wear two hats, which are completely opposing. One, you have to be the person who educates and brings them up. And on the exact opposite side, you need to have unconditional love and be their safety net. well, how do you correct their behavior while still telling them, but I love you no matter what? And I think these are at odds, and it becomes a very difficult place for a parent to excel.
I think the the problem is that majority of the parents, they have a fixed mindset, you know. I mean, and with the kids we are teaching, parents, they are like coming with those kids for our seminars. They are very open. They are saying, well, this is the way how we were brought up, but we want our kids to be brought, we want to bring up our kids in a different, you know, way. And I think it's a very, very sober, very open and honest, you know, way, right? Because for me, I can easily say, well, my daughter, she was always like, there was a lot of freedom, whatever, you know, right? The mom was a little bit drilling here. I was not at home at all, so I was very nice to her all the time, you know, right? And she was smart enough, so we didn't care about the schooling because she really did excellent job. But I think that was an exception. So I think the last point, all right, if you want to be kind of the minimalistic good parent, you know, right, and you travel, whatever, make sure that you lead by example, okay? Because kids, if you work like, look, I sport a lot. My daughter, she's like lawyer, but she do sport enough, you know, like tennis, whatever. She goes to the fitness, whatever, right? And I learn a lot, you know. She was seeing, hey, the dad is still, you know, studying something. She's doing the same thing. If the kids are seeing you, especially if they are small and the brain is really, you know, wired, because they have this, you know, mirror neurons, they will do the same. So it's and that's the way you can have in balance that, you know, no, not selfish love, or, you know, unconditional love, if you will, and still, like, you know, coaching them and mentoring them and prepare them for the life. Yeah.
Yes, this sounds like a great topic. Maybe next session we talk about breaking that cycle and how to raise kids with this growth mindset.
Okay. Yeah, why not? Why not? Absolutely. Okay.
Thanks everyone for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
See you.